we're starting Bez Hashem Chulin Pei Hey. With today's Daf Pei Hey. But we're starting Pei Dalet Amid Beis Darash Aveina Apischa de Beirish Galusa, about halfway through Pei Dalet Amid Beis. I just want to quickly red eyes two things on the Zach that we spoke yesterday. First of all, this Kavaligi Yesod, we discussed the Chasam Sefer's Kasha. Why is it if the Yidden always count the night before the day and the Goyim count the day before the night? The one time where it's the day before the night is by Kachim. Kachim is like the Goyim. What's going on over here? So we were masba that everybody understands. Everybody understands that it's a cycle, and right. So what defines the beginning of a day or the end of the day? The word is that the pshat is that you don't start a day without something important. There's things that are very important in the day and things that are not so important in the day. There are things that you have to do, but they're not central. They're not a tzorich of the day, right? And then there are things that the pshat is that you have to do, but they're not. They're in nebach you should do. And so the verse so by kachim is very gishmak, and kachim is a good indicator, because the pshat is you only bring kachim by day, and at night. Yeah, it's only backups. It's only we're taking care of things that are left over. But obviously, the main thrust is the kachim, and that's what it means. That starts the day. You don't start the day with the hektichalam veivarim. It's only it's only a nischaf. But on a regular thing, not kachim, on a regular day, that's the chilkim in the goy. By the goy, it's understood. The most important thing is when it's light and you could do things. You could work. So that's the beginning of the day, right? At night, you have to sleep. You have to whatever you eat, all the rest of the stuff. But most important thing is to work. By the yid, Avadi, he works at night during the day. But when it comes at night, that's when he can't work anymore. That's what stating the Gemara Brachas. He goes into Beis HaKnesses and Beis Medrash, and he's in Rogel Likras Koira, Rogel Lishna Shoina. That's the main part. Everything else he did for Parnasa, fine. But the main thing is the Rogel Likras Koira, the Rogel Lishna Shoina. It's the Limrat Torah. That's the main important. That's what he's living for. That's what it's for. So Mela, that's what you start the day. You don't start the day with working place, putting together some gadget. That's not the place, or fighting with a tenant. That's not how you start the day. That's not important. And I just want to be Moisef. I want to be Moisef. It could be that's the pshat. Why by the Yidden we start the year and we start Bereshis. We start Bereshis in the winter, beginning of the winter. What's the word? That's the word. Because now the summer's over and you finish with all that stuff. Now we're now buckling down. Now we're sitting down to learn for the whole winter, Be'ez Hashem. That's the beginning. It's not the end. Now's the beginning. It's not just winter place, just leftovers. Fakir. This is the beginning. This is the most important thing. In the summer, Nebach, you have to do a little parnasa. But that's not the main focus. Maybe that's the reason why Taka after the Levana was what's called it was luckily. That's when we first had that's the Gemara we had in the Trefus. Now Klai Yisrael is going to be minor with the Levana. Now the Levana becomes our pride. Okay, this is the time when the Levana we sit and learn, and it's not it says Leiver Lel Yel Legirsa. That was one ha'ara. Now, and the other shtickle is about the last Gemara that we had. That the Gemara says, it says Toivish Chayrin Umalve Yechalkel Dvarov B'Mishpat. So the Gemara says, L'olam, what does it mean? L'olam Yechal Adam V'Yishta Pachis B'Mashi Yeshlei V'Yilbish V'Yiskasa B'Mashi Yeshlei V'Yichabed Ishtoi Ubanav Yosef B'Mashi Yeshlei Shehein Tluyim Boy V'Hutal B'Misha Amar V'Hoyolim. So this is l'chura 5 points. Where does all these 5 points get into the vet of the pasuk? It says Toiv Yishchayin Malva Yechalkel Dvarav B'Mishpat. So Yechalkel Dvarav B'Mishpat somehow tells you all these 5 things. That first of all, he should eat pachas mishieshlei, less than his status. We're going to call it shieshlei. Is his status is yecholis, his status, but he should dress kefiyah yecholis, and he should Babi Yishmi Mechabed Ishtei Ubanav Yoyse Mimashi Yeshloi Shehem Tluyin Boy V'Utali B'Misham Avayoylam. What's going on over here? Right? Yeah. So I want to touch like this. First of all, Rashi's mazba that mishpat means that it's measured by something. So what's it measured by? It's measured by it's measured by kiyachalis, like his status, right? But Rashi doesn't say, but the pasuk doesn't say you should do less than you can afford. It says b'mishpat, meaning that you're gonna do some measuring. So that means that obviously eating is gonna be less, and dressing is gonna be kifiyah yechelis. And Rashi explains the reason. The reason is because when it comes to dressing, it's embarrassing to be to dress down. But when it comes to food, you could be misagid yourself. You don't have to have fancy food. Very gishmak. Where's the third one? Where's the third thing? Where's the third thing of that Ishtei Ubanav is Yosmi Sheyesh? That's partial because it says Yechalkel Devarav b'mishpat. Devarav should be b'mishpat, right? Why should Devarav be b'mishpat? The teretz is because only himself he should be like this, but his family that should be Yosmi Sheyesh. Good. And one last shtickle, and what's the svar? Where's the svar come from? Shehem tluyim boy v'utali b'misham avayoylam. It's a very gishmak. He's saying a murdiga svar. He's saying like this. You know why you're supposed to be dressing like this? The Eibishter gave you this amount, so obviously the Eibishter is saying this is how you should dress. From the fact that this is how much parnasa you have, that's how you know what your wardrobe is supposed to be. The Eibishter said, right? That's all you, right? Because you're telling me and the Eibishter said that this is your wardrobe. Mashengen your Ishtei Ubanav Shein Tali Boy. They're telling you. So your bank account is not an indicator what the Eibishter wants for them. The Eibishter is telling you what you should dress, how you should dress, how you should eat, but what they should eat. That's totally in you. That's not telling you what the Eibishter sent a message with you. That's what I want to touch on that Gemara. Okay, now comes a very interesting Gemara, a very, very, very mesubach Gemara. And it's very interesting how to learn the Gemara. Rashi's not masbis so much. Tosfos tries to explain the svaris in every single step of the Gemara. But the bottom line is, I'll give you a little bit the outside. The Mishnah said that kvi ain't shecht to b'yantif. Why? Why? Because if you're going to shecht, you're going to have to be mechasa. Because safek chay is safek behema, and on the side that it's a chay, it's mechuyev in kisei. If it's not what's called it. If it's on the side of behema, it's not mechuyev in kisei. So you don't know what to do, right? And then it says v'im shachtoi ein mechasen es dami, right? So Rashi explains im shachtoi ein mechasen es dami pasha because it's a safek, right? It's a safek. Now what's the issa? What would be the issa? What would be the issa to be mechasen yontif, right? Now, the problem is like this. The Gemara in Beya talks about what the issa is. And the Gemara gives 3 reasons. And based on these 3 reasons, the Tosfos tries to understand what the Gemara... I'm sorry?
Talking about
on Yontif. What would be the issa of Kis? What's the issa of being Mechasa Behema? Or what's the issa of Kri? What's the issa of Kri? Yeah. So the Gemara says three. What's the issa over here? So the Gemara says 3 pshatim. Either the word is that the issa is because even though he has prepared offer, and so it wouldn't be muksa for a chaya, but for a kvi, it's aser because he was only making it for his behemoths, not for his chayas. Yeah. So mele it's muksa. That's one.
Can he after be making it?
What?
Can he after be making it for the kli?
Yeah, and like that side, he would be able to. Like that side, he would be able to. That would be one side. The second side is Zakti Gemara. Another side that the pshat is because we're choishish that people are going to be matachel. If they see him be machas damai, then they're going to assume that he is they're going to assume that it's a chaya, and if they're going to, and if it's a chaya, so the pshat is so they'll be matel chelbay, right? That's the second side, and the third side the Gemara says and the third svara is alt tircha. Yeah, and the third svara is alt tircha. That the pshat is that you're not allowed to be matriach on yontif. Now Tosfos is going to want to say that the Gemara's whole kal v'chayma is only going to stem if it's based on tircha. Okay, and we'll see the Gemara. We'll see Rashi doesn't mention any of this. We'll see maybe a little a different mahalach how Rashi is learning. Let's see the Gemara. Darash Rav Eina apischa de Beirish Galusa. Rav Eina darshened at the door of the Beirish Galusa. Vice says there was a place over there. That's where the Darshan Vice says it was a place where you could get on the soapbox. And Hashaychel l'choyle b'Shabbos. So somebody shechs l'choyle on Shabbos. So normal is not negate to shecht on Shabbos because of Adas Asa. But if somebody shecht him because he needs a fetzorchi choyle, so now what's the story? Are you allowed to? Do you have kisei adam? Chayiv l'chases. So Rashi explains that the pshat is it's a dichoy dikasar shaila, meaning that the word is that once since Shabbos was nitten lidoches for shchita, it's nitten lidoches for chol everything until the gemar of the shchita. Yeah, I'm not sure if Rashi means the lumdus that we said that maybe shchita is like we said in the Bahag that shchita is a chelik of that the kisei adam is a chelik of the shchita, or stam it's something that comes because of the shchita. But lashon is the kivin the nitna Shabbos lidoches eitz of shchita zu nitchis lechol mitzvasa shel shchita zu. Yeah, you want to learn like that. Yeah, okay. So now, but how we're going to learn the sugya is not like Rashi, not like Tosfos. Tosfos learns that with handling with svaras of tircha, and Tosfos has problems with it. Rashi seems to learn the sugya that the question is in this dichui question. Is the abundance the rices have mix and match, but it's a question of dichui, meaning that we're gonna be done if this thing could be dachui, if there's a reason for it to be nitcha because of this mitzvah. That's gonna be the shmuz. So Rashi keeps on. How Rashi keeps on. It's the Gemara Darshavei Apiska the Beirish Galusa. Hashaychel lechol b'Shabbos chayiv lechases. Amru Rabba ishtoima ka'ama leshtemua lamoyre mine. Now, there's two pshatim, very interesting, very, very interesting, and I'll tell you what I find interesting. There's two gersois in this Gemara. One gersa is, and Sai Rashi and Sai Rach have this thing. Ishtoima ka'amar, or either ishtoima ka'amar, meaning something muzar, something odd, you said, or it's dishma ka'amar. Dishtoima ka'amar meaning you said something odd. If it's dishma ka'amar meaning that he said it in his own name. Are you saying is Egin a Chiddush? Right? That's the two pshatim. Right? Now, what's interesting is that based on what the question was, if he was saying something of Dvar Tema, or he was saying something that's Bishmei, he's saying his own thing, not B'Shem as Rabbi, the Lishtemua L'Amoyre Minei is based on that. So Rashi explains like this. Rashi and the Rach say the same thing. If the taina was that he's saying a dvar tema, meaning he's saying something odd, then lishtemua amoyre minei means we should rip out his tongue. But if the word is that he's just saying something b'shmai, so then we should just take away his meturgamon, embarrass him by demoting him. Interesting thing. What's the word? What's hat einitzadon the zweite? I would imagine maybe. I don't know why one has to do it the other. Why can't you say that if he's saying a dvar taima, so let's embarrass him, or if he's saying something that's he's saying something not from his Rebbe, let's rip out his tongue. Kinir not like that. Why? Maybe the pshat is because if he's saying something bishmoi, he's not saying something from his Rebbe. So the whole thing is that he's embarrassing. He's not being mechabed his Rebbe. So we have to embarrass him, but not more than that. But if he's saying something at Dvar Tema, then it makes sense that we should rip out his tongue. Somehow these two things are totally habahah. These two because l'chura the lishtemua lishamtua la'amoyre minei is not there's no 2 year source in that. It's all the same gear l'sham tu amir. But and how we teach l'sham tu amir is totally in how and what the taina on Ravena was. So so why is he wrong? And I'm going to prove that he's wrong. And this price is going to be before that what that when you shecht on Shabbos you're not mechasa. Sagt die Gemara, the Tanya, Rabbi Yossi, kvi ein sheichten oise biyantiv, v'im shachte ein mechasa nes damoi. Now, l'chura, this halacha is the halacha of our Mishnah. Do we need a makar? Rashi explained why. Why? Because it's a suffix. So Avada, there's no makom to what's called there's no makom that he should be able to. How are you going to be able to go be mechasa on Yontif? Right? Rashi said in the Mishnah. Right? Did Rashi say any lomdish kavachayim is any complicated kavachayim in the Mishnah? No. We didn't need it from Rashi, right? So, but what's going on over here? Rabbi Yossi is going to have a ganza yalfusa. Now the Ritva learns that the whole Mishnah that we said, the kvi and shechnais ubiyantiv shachtai and mechasan is damai is all gebayt on this Rabbi Yossi. We talk about asking Rabbi Yossi. That's how the Ritva learns. Rashi doesn't say that, and maybe we'll learn a different malach. So the Gemara right, mikal v'chayim. You know why? Imshachtem chasanas dami mikav v'chayim. Uma mila shevado doiche Shabbos. Vaday mila is doiche Shabbos, but still ain't sveika doiche yontif. What's sveika? That's doiche yontif. That means that if somebody, right, if you have somebody that it's a suffix shmini suffix chi, and it falls out on yontif, so what we say is we push it another day, right? Because a mila shlei bizman is not doiche yontif. So kisoi she'ein vada doiche Shabbos. Kisoi that's more keel that it's not even doiche when it comes to a vada. And then she'ein sveika doiche yontif. Now what are we talking about? That we're talking about kisoi she'ein vada doiche Shabbos. What are we talking about? The Gemara is going to say we're talking about a chayla. That a chayla is a sheichel l'chayla. That it's vada, right? It's vada. It's a vada chiyuv, and still. It's not Deiche Shabbos. It's not Deiche Shabbos. Why? Because you're not Eimachas in his dom. Imamish this Gemara. And it didn't change Sveika Deiche Yontif. That why? It's not Deiche Yontif by Kfi. So this is the Gemara, and this seems to be the source for this halacha. That what? Change Sveika Deiche Yontif. That Kfi is Eimachas in his dom. So to Armulai. So they told him Tkias Shaifa Bigvolen. I'll find you something. That vada is not deiche Shabbos, but still sveika is deiche yontif, right? What's the vada? The vada is not deiche Shabbos, right? Because on Shabbos we don't blow, but on a suffix yontif, right? Suffix yontif we blow both days of Rosh Hashanah. So Memei Levas is a raya that what? Is a raya that what? Is a raya that what? That suffix could be deicha. Suffix could be deicha yantif, right? Suffix could be nitcha midnei yantif. So yantif could be nitcha midnei suffix. It's not evador deicha Shabbos. It doesn't matter. It could still suffix could be deicha yantif, right? Now. So I just want just to clarify the Gemara. The Ritva says that we're passing on Rabbi Yossi, yeah. But what I want to try to argue is that Rashi is going to learn that kvi. We're going to see that this line of Tkiya Shefa Bekulim Tkiya Shem Vadod Deiche Shabbos Seka Deiche Yontif is not a good sushtal. Lo Rabbi Yossi. Lo the Chacham it is a good sushtal. The Chacham hold it's a good taina. Lo Rabbi Yossi is not a good taina because he holds that even it could that he holds that whatever we'll see. He holds that even Noshin Soim Kis Rishos. We'll see in a second, right? But bottom line is so Lo Rabbi Yossi is not a good taina. Lo the Chacham it is a good taina. So like the Chacham that it is a good taina, the teretz is that Yantiv is nitchim b'nei Safik mitzvah, even if it's ein vadad deiche Shabbos. So you want to know like the Chachamim, right? Like the Chachamim, Sveika is deiche Yantiv. Sveika is deiche Yantiv. Yeah, so it would seem to me that Rabbi Yossi is the only one that holds that you need for it to be nitche, for Yontif to be nitche, right? But from the fact that Tkiyah Sheifa B'Gvulin, that Ein Vado Doiche Shabbos, Usveikas Doiche Yontif, is a raya that you don't need for it to be nitche, for it to be Doiche Yontif. Because Tkiyah Sheifa B'Gvulin Techiach, Ein Vado Doiche Shabbos, Usveikas Doiche Yontif. Still, they said that what? That you could still blow Sheifa even though it's not Vado Doiche Shabbos, and still, it's going to be Sveikas Doiche Yontif. That would be the cheshbon. Okay, so more right. Heisher Blazak Varberi Bi Tshuva. So we'll see. This Amulay Tkiyah Sheifa B'Gvulin Techiach, Sheifa Vado Doiche Shabbos, Sveikas Doiche Yontif is not going to be Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi is not going. It's not going to be a taina like Rabbi Yossi at all. But Leite Chacham, it's a taina. Hey, Shur Blazak Kvar Beribi. This is going to be a taina that's going to stimulate Rabbi Yossi. Tshuva. Malamila shekin ein neheges b'lei yomtiv. Taima bekisei shenayig b'lei yomtiv. That what? Malamila shekin ein neheges b'lei yomtiv. Mila, you want to learn up from Mila? Mila has a kula. The what? It's ein neheges b'lei yomtiv. And right, and Toim Bekisa Shenayig B'Laylo V'Yom. Right now, Tois is going to ask a kasha that this pircha calls a achnis. Let's be machnas into the kavchayim. Since this is a zaytig ma'ila, it's a zaytig ma'ila. So let's be machnas it into the kavchayim, like we know from Baba Kama that av bi she'ein nehegis b'leil yontiv. It's still in vadodei Shabbos, right? Right. Right. That we should be machnas. Tois asks the kasha number alf and memela. Because of his taina, the Zokter Ritva, we still pass like Rabbi Yossi. That's how the Ritva learns. The Shita say that he learns that we pass like Rabbi Yossi. Amar Abba ze'echem min advarim she'amar Reb Chia ein li aleim tshuva. Reb Chia said, I don't. And by the way, this is Reb Abba that's in the Brisa. She'amar Reb Chia ein li aleim tshuva. Ve'eshiv Reb Elazar kvar b'ribi tshuva. Right. In other words, Reb Chia had no way to answer up Reb Yossi's kal v'chayma. And right, because the first taina was not a taina like we're going to see in a second. And the Mela, he said, and the only eitzah is this Shenag Yantiv, which was Reb Chia's taina that he was able, Reb Elazar Kvar's taina that he was able to fan for this thing. Oh, so here's the raya to our Gemara that wakatani miyas kisa shein v'adoi dechi Shabbos. My v'adoi the kisa dechi Shabbos. Lav hasheichid l'choyle b'Shabbos. And vice dois that a sheichid b'choyle b'Shabbos. It's a v'adoi dechi Shabbos because avadi you're not allowed to be mechasa on Shabbos. Now, what's the Issa? So Tosa says it's the Issa of Tircha because there's no other Issa. What else should be the Issa? It can't be out Muksa, and it can't be out. Somebody's going to think it's Chalev. These things don't pass. So what is the Issa? So Tosa learns that what the Issa is out Tircha. Lav Shechel L'Chol B'Shabbos. If the Dilma the affect the Gemara, maybe it's talking about the Avav Shachat, that it's a Vador, that he's a Vador because he's Vada Chiyuv of Kisei Adam because it's a Behema. So tomorrow, Dumi Demila, Mami L'Kirshos, Av Kisei Nami Birshos. Just like we're trying to compare Dichui, and there's no Nitcha by Mila, it's Nitcha. By if he's Avav Shachat, if he was over Issa Avada, there's no Dichui. So is a Raya. Is a raya not like a Ravena that Avada somebody shechts on Shabbos l'choila he's not mechasas dami. So now let's figure out the brayso. Amulei tkiyah shefer begulin techiach shein v'adoi dechei Shabbos v'zeka dechei yontiv. What's sveika? What's sveika? What kind of a suffix are we talking about? That's Sveika Shein Vado Deichi Shabbos Sveika Deichi Yontif. That Kia Shefer Sveika Deichi Yontif. Ilema Safik Kol Safik Yontif. In other words, we're talking about a Sveika Diyaima Fakert. It's less Choyiv. Hash Tavadi Yontif Dachia Safik Kol Mi Boy Fakert. If it's a Safik Yontif, then it's more welcome to be killed. Ella Sakti Gemara. What are we talking about? What's the suffix Shein Vado that Sveika is? Tkiyah Sheifa B'Gvulin, we said She'ein Vado Deichi Shabbos and Sveika is Deichi Yontif. Ela Safik Ish Safik Isha. Safik Isha meaning androgynous. That androgynous what? Androgynous. It does blow on Rosh Hashanah. Why is it blow on Rosh Hashanah? The teretz is that even though Ein Vado Deichi Shabbos, but Sveika is Deichi Yontif. Right? So now very gishmak. So Leite Chachamim, they hold that Sveika is Deichi Yontif. And that's why you could And that's why you could blow shofar on Yontif, and memela, if sveika is doiche Yontif, so memela it would make sense that you should be able to be what's called, you should be able to do Kisi Adam on Yontif. So the Gemara Rabbi Yossi Tamei Dama Isha Vadois Nami Taka. Later Rabbi Yossi that holds Isha Vadois is Nami Taka. The Tanya Bnei Yisrael Samchim. V'Vnei Bnei Yisrael Samchos. Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Shimon Aimim Nashim Samchos Rishos. So over here it's Kedai Shtel sich up over here Bisalom this. What's going on over here? Nashim Samchos Rishos. There's a Gavaldige Machlokes Rishonim. What does it mean Nashim Samchos Rishos? The shaila is what's the chiddush of nashim samchos rishos? Because l'chura they're doing an avodah bekachim, so avodah is issa. You're not allowed to do avodah. You're not allowed to do issa bekachim, right? So why are you allowed to do it? And the Gemara says the reason why we allowed them to do it is because the nashim would be offended. They would be offended. So we nachas ruach l'nashim. So the shaila is mishum nachas ruach l'nashim. We're going to let them be over an issa. What's going on over here? That's the shaila of Taisus. Zok Taisus, that Nashim Semches Rishos doesn't mean that they do a real smicha. They only do obeflachlach. They go on top and they look like they're doing a smicha. And that gives them enough of a thing, that gives them enough of a nachas ruach l'nashim. Right? So now it's backshver. So what would be the tzad to answer it? The teretz is Tosis has to say that the pshat is that I would be choishish that there will be exered rabbanon to answer it. And since there should be exered rabbanon to answer it, and we don't answer it, is a raya that what is a raya to our sugya that it's also been negaya is a rabbanon. It's the rabbanon that we're not going to the rabbanon. So Mamel is not a tiny Rabbi Yossi legabe safek isha by tkiyah sheifa, which is also like Tosis is the rabbanon. That's how Tosis learns the sugya. But there's a famous Ravid, and the Ravid learns that nashim semchus rishos, he said the Ravid says, because that's how the Torah was given, that those that are mechuyev, but those that are not mechuyev could still be mekayim the mitzvah, could be mekayim berishos. So it comes out Gvaldig Nafkamina between Tosis and the Ravid. Tosis learns that the Nashim are not going to have a mitzvah. There's no kiyam mitzvah. Even when it's a rishos, the pshat is they don't have a kiyam mitzvah. And the Ravid holds that avada they don't have a chiyuv, but avada they have a kiyam mitzvah. There are those that are toila. And there's a lot of nafkaminas. Nafkaminas gabi over lamashal wearing tzitzis on Shabbos. If you're going to be carrying, if the mitzvah is going to be, if it's going to be matcha, if you have a esedei chaloisa say, and it's negeya a bracha, if you can make a bracha, all these kind of shaylas are all negeya. If you want, if the nashim have a mitzvah or they don't have a mitzvah, we're not going to be married in the sugya. Let's go weiter. Ravina. Even like what the Rabbanan said, that what the Rabbanan said that even like the Rabbanan that hold that even like the Rabbanan even they hold that Isha is Asura. And Mamela, since they hold Isha is Asura, so Mamela they would hold that what that Nashim is same rishos. And Mamela you have Avada that's not Deiche Shabbos, but Sveika is Deiche Yantif, right? So like them, the mighty coming Rabbanan nami yislei pircha, malat kiyashev, v'shken vadod, deiche Shabbos b'mikdash, temu b'kisei l'lesa klal, right? That what? That kiyashev vadod is deiche Shabbos b'mikdash, temu b'kisei l'lesa klal. Yeah. Heishav l'lesa kvar b'ribi mal mila sheken en neheges b'leil yontif. That Mila is not noig b'leil yontif. Fact, more b'leil yontif who d'loi naga b'shal leil naga. Ela mal Mila sheken en neheges b'leil is kibiyam. Tem b'kisa shenei b'leil is kibiyam. Rab Abba zech ben hadvarim sham Rab Chia en li aleim tshuva v'heishav l'lesa kvar b'ribi tshuva. Okay, that's the end of this Gemara. Let's move on to the next Mishnah. The next Mishnah is the source of the second source of Shchita Sheina Ruya. Sagt die Gemara weiter, sagt die Mishnah, HaShoichet v'nimtzes treifam, v'HaShoichet la'avodas kechavim, V'asheichechu them b'fnim v'kachim b'chutz, or chaya v'oifa niskaldim dafka chaya v'oif, because of behema obviously there's no kisei adam. Remei machai v'chom poichim. Hashoichet v'nisnabla b'yodei hanoiche v'ama'ake patim l'chasis. If he did something that's clearly nevela, then avadis patim l'chasis. So the Gemara writes to Reb Chia bar Abba. We have to remember this Reb Chia bar Abba. The Gemara is going to bring back at the end of the sugya. Reb Chia bar Abba said this. Member Reb Chia bar Abba Rabbi Yochanan Ra Rebbe Dvarov Shal Remeya Boises Benoi V'Shana B'Lashe Chachamim B'Derabshem B'Kisei Adam V'Shana B'Lashe Chachamim. Because over here, in the first case of our Mishnah of Hasheich V'Nim says Treif and Hasheich Lavitz Kacham Hasheich L'Chulin B'Fnim V'Kachim B'Chutz and Chayiv Oifan Eskalim. All these things. What does it say in our Mishnah? Remeya is Mechayiv because he holds that what Shchita Shein Ruya is Shma Shchita, and the Chachamim hold the Chachamim Paichim. Why? Who's the Chacham? It's Reb Shimon that hold that Shchita Shein Ruya is Lo Shma Shchita. Right? So since right. And Mashenkin earlier, when we by Osves Benoy, when we brought down the same Mishnah of Legabe Shchitas Sheina Ruya, over there it was the Chachamim were Machayiv because that was Reb Meir, and Rebbe paskin like Reb Meir by Osves Benoy, but not by Kisei Adam. So. Again, that's why over here it says v'chacham and poitrim. So tomorrow my time. My time I did Rameya Boisaves Benoi. What's wrong Rameya Noises Benoi that he holds that what Shchita Shein Ruya Shmo Shchita. Rabbi Shmuel Levi Gama Shchita Mishchita Chutz. Ma Hasam Shchita Shein Ruya Shmo Shchita. Just like over there, Shchita Shein Ruya is Shmo Shchita. Afachanai Shchita Shein Ruya Shmo Shchita. We had that Rashi. Rashi said that Shchita Shein Ruya it's exercise kosev that Avada even though it's Ein Ruya it's still going to be a Shchita. And Rabbi Shimon's masking that there's exercise kosev by Shchita by Shchita Chutz. Child, if you can learn out from Shchutechos, Reb Shimon, my time. What's the Makar for Reb Shimon? So the Gemara, Amra Mani by Patish Gama Mitvoyach Tachein Tavach VeHachein. Where's this pasuk? This is a pasuk by the Shvatim. When the Shvatim came down to Yosef, Tvoyach Tavach VeHachein tells you that what okay, so what do you see from Tveich Tach V'Hachin? Because the end of the pasuk says Ki iti yeichlu. So it has to be a shchita roya. Tvicha ki iti yeichlu, that it has to be roya lachila. Malon shchita roya avkan shchita roya. Now over here we could shtel zechap that l'chura this Gemara is only gebayit on the assumption that Shvatim were Mekayim Kol HaTorah Kula Achlei Nitna, right? And the problem is that it's a big plunta. Shal is if they were Mekayim the Torah Achlei Nitna or not. And Befrat the Ramban famously learns that they were Mekayim Kol HaTorah Kula in Eretz Yisrael, but not Chutz La'aretz. This is already Mitzrayim. So what's going on over here? Why is Tveich Tachim V'Hachin V'Kiti Yeichlu, right? So we're gonna have to see the Gemara later on is going to talk a little bit about it, but l'chura you could say it could be you could say that even for whatever reason, even if you say that the Shvatim were not Mekayim the Torah Chutz La'aretz, but the lashon of Yosef was Utvarech Tachim B'Hachem Ki iti yeichlu is mashma clearly that he did a correct shchita. He did a correct shchita. That's why it's tveich tachim v'achim. Yeah. Don't just give that. Don't just take any meat from the freezer. Make a special tvicha and that ki iti yeichlu anashim. Yeah. Okay. There's another shmuz agavocha. We might as well talk about it. The other thing that we dash from the Tveich Tavach V'Hachin is the Gabe Erev Shabbos. That Yosef was Mekayim Shabbos. And the shaila is if he was Mekayim Shabbos, if the Shvatim had a din of any Yehudi, so I go Shabbos is Chayiv Misa. So what's the eitzah to the shaila? Why was he able to be Mekayim Shabbos? If he's an Yehudi, yeah. What we say the teretz to that is want to say like this: that Vibalt Chazal say that you need for the Kiyam Oilam. It says that Vai Mashishi. That the Eibush only created 6 days, and then after 6 days, it would have been Charev. It was only Mikoach Shabbos that it became more what's called it. So until Klal Yisrael came around, we needed the guy to be Shavas Pasha to have Mishum Kiyam Oilam, such a kind of a teretz they want to say. And then there's another teretz that they want to say maybe he's telling the day and the night. If he did a different he did Shabbos starting by the day, not starting by the night. I was just thinking like this that we have the Gemara says right that a goy lama Torah is also because mu'urasa, right? Mu'urasa, right? The pshat is the whole reason why a goy shavas chayiv misa is because oisi lebnei Yisrael. That the word is because since it's miyuchet for the yid, so mamela a guy can't have a shaykhis to it. It's only once it was miyuchet to the yid, that's where the guy can't have a shaykhis. Because man Torah that there was no yidden, so the pshat is what? So yeah.
Because it's the din of Geneva? That what you're saying?
That you're already saying you're already liking to that because but even if it's not that, it becomes your mo'irasa. It became nachlas Yisrael. But even before it became nachlas Yisrael, there was nothing wrong with a guy being shavas fakert. Let him be shavas. The whole problem is that now it became our oisi lebnei Yisrael. It became our besondere thing. I don't know. Okay, so the Gemara right. Sagt immer weiter, Yenami, Ligma Miteva. Why isn't he learn out from Tevayach that what? That there has to be Kiti Yochlu. There has to be a Shchita Roya. Sagt immer, dann a Shchita. Mishchita vein dann a Shchita Mitvicha. By Shchita Echotz it says Lashon of Shchita. By Shengen over here it says Lashon of Tevayach. And Tevayach and Shchita is two different things. In fact, the Gemara might have Gemina Hatana Debei Reb Shmuel V'Shav HaKohen Avar Kohen Zui Shiva Zui Bia. That we could mix and match. Even though it says V'Shav over here and it says Uvo over here, but you can make it Gzer Shav. It's no problem as long as it means the same thing. Since by Shchut Echotz it says Shchita, and by Yosef it says Tericha, so we'd rather be medamet to the more daima one than better than the one than Tericha, which is not daima. Okay. For Rab Shimon Nami Ligma Mishchut Echotz. Good. So that's Rameh. What does Reb Shimon do with the pasuk of Shchut Echotz, which is clearly that Shchut that Shchita and Ruya Shma Shchita. So the Gemara done in Chulin Michulim and done in Chulin Mikachim. That you done in Chulin from Chulin, and by Shchut Echotz is Kachim. It says Yaitz Benakal. For Rameya Atu Oisves Benoy Bekachim Milay Noig. And Rameya says that what do you mean? Oisves Benoy is Noig Bekachim as well, and therefore, since it's Noig Bekachim, so Memela it's Kachim and Memela we should learn V'hainu Dekam Reb Chia Ra Rebbe Devar Shar Rameya Oisves Benoy, because Rameya had the last word, and therefore Takei Nechanami that Oisves Benoy is Noig Rebbe Paskin like Rameya that Shchut Echotz. That by Oisves Benoy Shchita Shen Ruya Shmo Shchita V'Shanei B'Lashon Chachamim. My time of the Rameh b'Kisei Adam. What's the pshat by Kisei Adam that we also say? Over here it doesn't say a lashon of tvicha; it says a lashon of shvicha. Reb Shimon Lakish gaba shvicha mishchut echotz. Mal alon shchita shein ruya shmo shchita. Afkan shchita shein ruya shmo shchita. For Reb Shimon, because it says shvicha by shchut echotz as well. So mele he's gama shvicha also. For Reb Shimon, asher yoichal ksiv. It says asher yoichal. By Kisei Adam it says Asher Yoichal, right? The pasuk is Vish Ish Minei Yisrael Ben Ager Agor B'Zech V'Shiyotzu Tzeit Chaya Oif Asher Yoichal V'Shavach Ezdam Mevchiseu B'Afar. Asher Yoichal is dafka something that you are going to eat, which is b'shchita. For Reb Meir, Hahu Lemutei Oif Tameu. Das of Reb Shimon Oif Tamei My Time La Barachilo. And what? And so since Reb Shimon had the last word, it's Reb Chia. It should be Reb Chia bar Abba. Rebbe Dvarav Shor Reb Shimon b'Kisei Adam v'Shonei b'Lashon Chachamim. Okay, that's the end of that Gemara so far. And here comes some major, mega lumdis. And Lamaisa, we're going to see that we were mechaven in Ayin Hayam the days, we were mechaven to Kuega and a stipler. Loi l'chol amar Ramei shchita she'en ruya lo yishma shchita. Moider Ramei she'en matirasa ba'achila. Yeah, l'churo, we just finished the Gemara that there's a machlokes, right? There's really three shittas. Rameya it's machlokes menakotza lakotza Rameya Reb Shimon. Rameya holds shchita she'en ruya lo yishma is shma shchita by everything, and Reb Shimon is shchita she'en ruya is lo yishma shchita by everything, and Rebbe split the difference, and he said by Oisav as Benoy he passed like Rameya that what shchita she'en ruya shma shchita, and by Kisadam shchita she'en ruya is lo yishma shchita. That's how we got to the Gemara so far. But Rameya, that's the extreme position, and he holds shchita she'en ruya is shma shchita. So Gemara lo l'chol. Lo l'chol amar Rameya shchita she'en ruya shma shchita. Ay der Rameya she'matirasa be'achila. I mean, that's the Kura Pashit, right? Right? That's Pashit, that a shchita she'en ruya is not matir ba'achila. Pashit, right? That's the Chura Pasha. We're going to see in the Gemara. The Gemara is going to explain. Reb Shimon that holds shchita she'en ruya lo yishma shchita. That's not across the board. We'll see in a second. We're going to see the Gemara is going to be marchiv on this whole thing. That's going to go to right down. That's not matter b'achila. Pshita treifa b'shchita mi mishtaria. How you're going to go be matter a treifa b'shchita? That's the whole din of treifa. That even though it got a shchita, but it's still awesome because it's a treifa. So tzricha l'shoichet es a treifa umatza ba ben tes chai. If somebody shechts a treifa umatza ba ben tes chai. If you shechted a treifa and you found in it a ben teschai, a ben pekua, a paganza ben pekua, ben teschai, sakidai techamina hoyel the amra mea shchita she'en ruya shma shchita. I would think that since there may hold shchita she'en ruya shma shchita, tahani le shchita simai v'lo libai shchita. Kamash malan, that what they need shchita. So the shaila is what's the kamash malan? What's not going to kamash malan? L'chura what? L'chura, I have a shchita. I have a ben teschai. And als the ben teschai, l'chura, ben teschai shchita works on it. So who cares that the mother has a treifus? Yeah, this is the big problem. We discussed it a lot at Behema Makasha, but we'll chazer it iber because there's a few mar mekaymis in this sugya for the shaila. There's a keiga and there is the Reb Chaim. There's the Piskirov learned from Shem Reb Chaim. That one. Keiga says like this. What? Oh, yeah. So let's go through it real quickly. Because Lamaisa, we were Medayik in Rashi, and Lamaisa, the stipler is Medayik in that Rashi. I didn't know that. The stipler is Medayik in Rashi like that, like Reb Keiga. That the pshat is like this. It's pashta mamonavshach. It's a mamonavshach, meaning like this. You gotta decide. Pick and choose. You, Uber, are you a chelik of the mother, you're not a chelik of the mother. If you're a chelik of the mother, so you're a vlad treifa. If you're not a chelik of the mother, then what? Then you're not a chelik, so you didn't have the shchita. But you can't pick and choose. You can't pick and choose. You have to pick a side. Either you're a chelik of the mother, you're not a chelik of the mother. The halacha of Dal Simonim, that the fact that the Torah gave him Dal Simonim, right? That tells us that I can pick one or the other. But if I pick it, I got to pick it completely. I can't do half and half. That's what Kega's lumdis. And if you look in Ayin Hayam Beis, let me see if I have it in this Gemara. If you look in Ayin Hayam Beis, the Lashon Rashi has come out mefurish. That's what we learned. We medayik it. I don't have it in this Gemara, but let me see if it's mamish mefurish Rashi. What's the havmina? Yeah? We'll learn like this. That's good what the Gemara is asking. The pasuk says that a new yalfusa, that a tray for shachta is not metame tumas nevela. What do I need it for? Al korchach, it's Reb Shimon. Because how else could it be? Who else is it going for? Like anybody else, why what's the grace of Chiddush? The Teretz is going to Reb Shimon. That holds that Shechita Shein Ruya Leishma Shechita. If Shechita Shein Ruya Leishma Shechita, so Mela, Treva is an Mela. Matter of fact, the Gemara, this is Reb Shimon. Otherwise, what's the grace of Kasha? Who says Reb Shimon holds to this Yalfusa? The Teretz is going like Reb Shimon because Akarcha is going like Reb Shimon. Who else is it going like? Why do I need a pasuk to tell you that a treif is an avela? It's not an avela. Mechates is an avela. Teretz says like Reb Shimon that holds Shechita in relation to Shechita. I need a pasuk. So the Gemara weiter, and it's very geschmack this Gemara that the Gemara says that in Mamish and our sugya of Reb Shimon, we're asking that the pshita, yeah. Tam Rabbi Dama Rav. I'm going to say the v'chevus v'nabei mixes beim mitav mixes beim and mitav zeizu treifa shachta. So malay tzichol l'sheichen as a treifa v'chulin ba'azara. Somei shechts a treifa v'chulin ba'azara. The Tanya hashoichet as a treifa. V'chein hashoichet v'nimtzes treifa. So what's these two cases? Rashi explains. What's hashoichet as a treifa and hashoichet v'nimtzes treifa? Shoichet as a treifa is when you shechted it, you didn't know that it was a treifa. I'm sorry, shoichet as a treifa is you knew it was a treifa. It had an extra leg. It was obviously a treifa from the outside, from the onset. It was known to be a treifa. And hashoichet v'nimtzes treifa is something that afterwards it was nisbar that it was a treifa from the dakim. Zehev zechulem be'azar Reb Shimon mate behano v'chachamim ha'isrim. Saket etchim hoivam Reb Shimon mutubano alma lav shchita hi klal. I would think it's not a shchita b'chal because it's mutubano. Eima miden vela nami le mitara kamash malon. Yeah. Amalei of Papa Abaya. Yeah. That's more. Amalei of Papa Abaya. V'savar Reb Shimon. Chulin ba'azara deraisi. Amalei in. Fragt die mal about nan. Reb Shimon oime chulin shenishchetu ba'azara yisfu be'esh. V'chein chaya shenishcheta ba'azara. V'chein chaya shenishcheta ba'azara. Okay, so now there's three malchim in the Rishonim. We're just going to go with Rashi. That the Gemara is bringing a raya from this Mishnah that Reb Shimon does not hold the chulin shenishchetu ba'azara is aser midrabanan. What's the raya? So Rashi explains like this: there's two mahalchim in pshat why Reb Shimon asers Reb Shimon asers chulin shenishchetu ba'azara. Either the word is it's midaraisa, and legabe zeh he holds that shchita it blives a shchita ru'ya, or it's with the rabbanon. What would the rabbanon be? The rabbanon would be that the pshat is because people think that shchita shein ru'ya. Because they think that they're going to think that this was kachim achutz. They're going to asi lemishri kachim achutz. If you're going to be mater to eat kachim that was nishchetu ba'azara, people are going to think it was kachim, and they're going to think it was kachim, and if you're going to be mater to eat it b'chutz, they're going to be asi lemishri kachim achutz. So to Yomar. L'maisa mefurish. Reb Shimon says, "Chulin shenishchetu ba'azara yisvu be'esh, v'chein chaya shenishchetu ba'azara iyam b'shlam d'oraisa hainu d'gazrina and chaya atu behema." So that's why sai chaya sai behema. Rashi holds the zera of chaya atu behema is a little bit shvudechit, but then it would make sense why chaya and behema are going to be also. Eliyam d'rabanan behema ma'itaima dilma asi lemechel kachim achutz he gufa gzera v'nekim v'nigzar gzera. In other words, that what? That there's no tzad anyone's going to ever think that a chaya is kachim achutz. So what's the havamina? And therefore, why should it be exerted? Teretz is d'rabbanan. Yeah, and so the chura is d'rabbanan. So the shaila is, so if it's d'rabbanan, what's the vort in Reb Shimon? I'm sorry. So here's a raya from the fact is hakochach. It's only gzeira atu kachim. It's gzeira atu a behema, and a behema is midaraisa, and kachim is it's not out to gzeira. It's out atu kachim. The chulin shenishchatu ba'azara like Reb Shimon is also midaraisa. That's the end of that Gemara. Okay, let's see the next shtickle Gemara, and then with that we'll finish off. So Gemara weiter. Reb Chia nafal le yaniva bekisna. This is a very interesting Gemara. We mentioned it earlier in the Gemara Daf Chof Ches. The Reb Chia, he got these yaniva bekisnei. What's yaniva? Yaniva is a some say it's like some kind of a but they want to say that it's more like some kind of a moth that eats the clothing, yeah, and it eats dafka flax, but it eats flax, right? And also like Rebbe Amalei Shkol Oifa Ushchoit Al Bubisa the Maya Shecht take a oif and shecht it on the Mea Mishra, and if you shecht it on the Mea Mishra, somehow the blood of the oif sends away these moths. They don't like the smell of bird blood. The Moirech Dama V'Shavikle, because it's going to smell the blood and it's going to leave. How does he do this? If somebody shechts and he needs the dam, so what are you going to do? You chayev l'chasis, you know eitza. Keitzad yasa, what do you do if you need blood? So what's the eitza? How did Rabbi tell him to go shecht over the blood, over the thing? What? It's going to be a problem, and he has a tzarech kisa, and you can't use the blood. Yeah. Now there's a big shmooze. A yam shel shleima with a devei chamudes, a ganze shmooze. What is the havamina that somebody is sheichev tzarech ledamai that he should tzarech lechasis? What's the grace of chiddush? Versteht? If you're shechting, and right. Blood is a mitzvah of kisei dam. So what if you need the dam? Yeah? What's the grace of chiddush? Yeah? So I want to say, based on the chiddush that we said, what's the vort? Why the Torah said dafka to be mechasa, dafka chaya and oif and not behema. And we said the reason is because chaya and oif are normally out in the field, and mamela you're going to leave the blood as out in the open, and mamela that's a bezayino, that's the nefesh that we don't want to have. So mamela we told you the Torah told you v'shafach mashenk that you should be mechasa. Mashenkein behema that's in the house, that's in local over there. You're not going to anyways not going to leave it sitting around in the middle. There's no din of kisei adam. So like that, it's very gishmak. What the havamina would have been. The havamina would have been that if you're using the blood and you're not leaving it out in the open anyway, so maybe there'll be a havamina that you shouldn't need kisei adam. Okay, so the more right. Keitzad yasa oy necher oy kroi ki aser avdimi amat say troif. Troif amalei. He didn't tell him oy nech. He didn't tell him go shecht. Shkol oifa ushchait al bubisa. He didn't tell him to shecht it. He told him to be teirefit. Because why? Because he holds that Vaisles, he holds that shchita generally leishma shchita, and memela what? And since once you're going to be teiref, there won't be a chiyuv of kisei. Amalei. Ki asarav namatrei nechar amalei. He told him to be neicherit. Neicher means to strangle it. So Gemara, Lemanda, I might say Troif my time. I'm going to say Nechor. Later, it says that he told him to go be teirefit. Why didn't he tell him to just strangle it? Maybe he holds that in shchita leif b'naterim. Nechira says who is shchita say. Memela what? You're still going to have a chiyuv of kisei adam on nechira sa'oiv. Tanya Rabbi, Kasha tzivisich. This is Rabbi. Rabbi himself. Rabbi was the one that said it, and Rabbi said Kasha tzivisich. So Rabbi clearly holds that there is shchita, and nechira would get you out of it. So why did Rabbi have to say? Why did Rabbi say? Say troif and not say nechor. It's like, no, let me boy come. I take enechanami. He was saying let me boy. He was saying let me boy. Say nechor the lav shchita he klal. I would say troif emi shchita shein ruya shmo shchita. I would think that maybe shchita shein ruya shmo shchita v'li boy kisa kamash malon. That what? Reb Chia bar Abba. That what? Reb Chia bar Abba said that Rebbe is paskening like Reb Shimon over here by kisei adam. It's a very gishmak. So that's why he dafka said, like this girsa, he dafka said, say treif, to go tell him the chiddush, that even tirfa is going to be good. Now it's like the other way. Well, the man might say nechar, like the man that Rebbe told him to say nechar, that you should go strangle it. My time of the Amaloi say treif, why did he tell him dafka strangle it? Why didn't he tell him to go be teirefit? Maybe he holds that shchita sheina roya shma shchita, and that's why, and it'll be a problem if he tells him say treif, because shchita sheina roya shma shchita. It's not true. We know what Rebbe shita is. He holds shchita sheina roya is Laishma shchita by kisei adam. So tomorrow let me buy come by. Let me buy say treif the shchita shein real laishma shchita. I will say nechar ema ein shchita laif minat Torah or nechira says who shchita say or le buy kisei kamash malan kashet zivisicha. That what that so bekitza the like the two years. The question is what the bigger chiddush was. They're both chidushim of Rebbe. Both of them by say treif you need Rebbe shita that holds that what shchita shein real shma shchita. And by Nechor, I would have thought I need the chiddush the kasha tzivisicha that nechirase zuhi shchitase you don't say. So memela, based on these two shitas, what do? We the two lashonis. The question is which was the bigger chiddush and which one was the one that Rebbe told him to do.